Valerie, do you want to lead the
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
We'll move to roll call.
Student Trustee Parmigiani? Trustee Withrow?
Here.
Trustee Yohannes?
Here.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Right here.
Napolia Bellarice? Trustee Gonzalez-Brito?
Here.
Trustee Quinlan? Trustee Delphine Pope?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. So we'll move to 3.4, affirmation of a statement of cooperation. I'll read it today. Over the course of the last 2 years, we, the Peralta Community College District Board of Trustees, have been engaging in a process of reflection to improve our effectiveness as a board. As a result, we have conducted a critical review of our work over the last several years through a formal self-evaluation and established meaningful goals. The Peralta Board has adopted a statement of cooperation that codifies our commitment to set the bar for excellence in governance, in community college leadership, and to lead by example for our Peralta colleges. The full statement of cooperation is attached to this agenda item, but in summary, we have committed to 1, build trust and seek to understand each other. 2, be prepared and follow good governance and ethical protocols. And 3, model the behavior we want others to exhibit. We therefore commit to honoring and upholding these commitments in words and in action. Great, thank you. So, Vice President Quinlan, do we have a report on actions taken in closed session?
There are no reportable items.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move to 3.6, approval of the agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay.
I'm sorry, who was the first?
Me.
Oh, thank you. Student Trustee Parmigiani?
Yes.
Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Yohannes?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Napolia Bellarice?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Brito?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So 3.7, approval of the minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Okay.
Student Trustee Parmigiani? Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Yohannes?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Napolia Bellarice?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Brito?
Yes.
Motion passes.
So move to 3.8, associated student government reports. Do we have anybody present or online?
No one online.
Okay. So seeing no reports, we'll move to 3.9, Peralta Classified Senate Report.
Madam President, there is no report for tonight.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move to 3.10, District Academic Senate Report.
Hey folks, Matthew Goldstein, President of the District Academic Senate, and it's good to see you all back in action. Tonight I'll speak briefly about the newly revised budget. I'll preview some coming participatory governance attractions and offer a reminder about a couple of state mandates that are creating all kinds of new work for us here at the colleges over the next several years. So as you know, tonight's agenda includes a first reading of the 24-25 adopted budget. VC Nelson will walk us through that in a few minutes, but I just wanted to make a few notes about the process. As you've heard me go on about at some length, there were concerns raised about process over the last year and more, and just to remind folks that the adopted budget that has been under revision by VC Nelson and his office is the tentative budget that the PBC approved last spring. So it might be a little difficult to follow, but that's all to say that this has gone through the shared governance process, and there'll be an opportunity for a final PBC review in the next couple of weeks. So I just wanted to thank VC Nelson for being responsive to faculty concerns when they were raised around the possibility of a summertime PBC meeting, and of course with faculty out of the offices for the summer. It was nice that we got a responsive and understanding response. I know that was redundant. I apologize for that. From VC Nelson in office. So our optimism is being rewarded about these improvements that you've heard me and the Chancellor talk about here over the last several months. So again, the revised adopted budget will go through PBC and then go to the board and then on to Sacramento presently. Speaking of participatory governance, you've probably heard that there's a follow-up retreat booked for Friday, August 30th, right here in the district atrium. This again is, yes, thanks, the applause sign should be blinking at this point. The follow-up meeting is, of course, on the heels of the March PBIM retreat. There will be lunch and there'll be discussion of the various improvements that we've made to that process in the last several months. I wanted to point to the work particularly of Chancellor Gilkerson and a couple of Peralta political scientists, Matthew Freeman up at BCC, and the recently retired Stephanie Droker, worked to make those important edits to the PBM manual, which, as you'll recall, has been in draft for, I believe, going on 7 years now. So these are important changes that will, we hope, take us towards a finished and working final version soon. And of course, you can expect more updates from Chancellor Gilkerson and yours truly in the near future. Last, just to remind folks about a couple of big legal requirements that have come down the pike recently. One, of course, is SB 1111, which is the Common Course Numbering Initiative. This will standardize course numbers for all general ed courses and transfer pathway courses. And as you might reckon, that's a massive undertaking. There has been money put aside by the state to see this done by 2027 now. The deadline shifted a couple of times. There's some buzz about changing the deadline again, but for now, the first set of Common Course numbering will be due in the fall of 25, and those first changes will affect a handful of classes in math, poli-sci, English, communications, and psychology. And then all the other courses that are subject to Common Course numbering will be treated in the following 2 years unless the deadline shifts. But again, this is a massive undertaking, and the state has put aside more than $100 million to do this work. And as I was saying to VC Tina Vasconcelos before the meeting, faculty and staff will be watching those dollars and looking forward to seeing them come to the campuses so that that work is done in a compensated fashion, of course, but also so that we have adequate resources to do this massive project. The other project that you're aware of probably is AB 928, and this is the CalGETC numbering system, which is well underway. The fall 25 deadline remains intact. There is some money on the campuses to do that work, but just know that, again, it's really important that we invest in the faculty and staff that will be doing that really important work. The legislature has, I think it's fair to say, burdened us with a massive, I keep saying this, massive undertaking. So I guess that point is well established at this point. But the intentions, I think, are good out of Sacramento, but the practical implications of those well-intended pieces of legislation are considerable. So thanks very much. We'll keep you posted and have a good meeting.
Thank you. All right, so we will move to 3.11, public communication on matters that are not on the agenda.
First, we have Jeff Sinceri.
Did it. Hello. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here. I'll just start by saying it's the beginning of another academic year, and as our students return to our classrooms and our offices, it will be nice to see faculty settling back into their pedagogical rhythm and pursuing a partnership with the administration and the district that is based on mutual respect or even a partnership. At the end of this academic year, PFT's contract will expire, which means that in the spring semester, you'll find the bargaining team going to the bargaining table. And you and the chancellor and you, dear board members, will also see a lot of our members showing you or asking you or telling you exactly what a fair contract looks like. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That's not until the summer. I would be remiss, however, if I didn't mention that in the past 3 years, PFT has had 2 grievances that went all the way to arbitration, which is, I believe, 2 more than we've had in our entire history. One of these was adjudicated some months ago. Put briefly, the district was essentially accused of fraud and direct dealing. I remember that PFT, either me or my predecessor, approached most of you on the dais now about this issue, laying out the facts before all of you, and we were pretty much ignored. Had you exercised any of your power to step in, you might have avoided the decision against you and Peralta, saved probably a couple $100,000 between fraudulent action itself and the attorney's fees, and avoided another black eye for the district after they so clearly violated the contract and basic precepts of labor law. That being said, my frustration has eased somewhat because my experience in the past few months has been one of transparency and fairness. I hope that that continues, and I also hope that as board members you recognize that sometimes not doing something can be more dangerous than doing something. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other public comment?
There are no other public comments.
Okay, thank you. All right, so with that, we'll move to 3.12, Chancellor's Report.
Well, thank you so much, trustees. Happy August, everyone. Welcome back. It's good to be with you all. We're going to start tonight's Chancellor's Report with reports from our college presidents. And I'll first start with Dr. David Johnson from Merritt College.
Good evening, Chancellor Gilkerson, President Gonzalez Brito, board members, our newest student trustee, colleagues, and community. You have my report, so I'm going to be very, very brief. Keep this thing moving. Just highlight a couple of things. Merritt College Express enrollment. We had our first one this last Friday, and we have our last one this Friday from 9 to 2. We invite everyone to come on out. We're going to have, the focus is going to be obviously helping students with enrollment, financial aid, counseling, orientation. We're going to have campus tours, we're going to have food and music, and it's really a great opportunity to welcome the students back, put on a good show, a good face, and get them excited about the academic journey that they are about to embark upon. So we'd like to see everyone there if they could make it. Also, I want to encourage, we're having a student athlete orientation on August 22nd at 2:30. And again, encouraging people to come. Athletics is, I think, a very important part of this district in a certain sense. They are our ambassadors to the community. Oftentimes, they're our most visible students. And if we believe in the credo that we are educating students and helping them to improve mind, soul, and body, it's important that they know that we support them. And oftentimes, the interesting thing is that they're some of our best students because they're focused on transfer. Open invitation for you all to attend that. I also want to call briefly attention to one of our students in histotechnology. She just got the first internship. We were developing an internship with Genetech, and she was able to secure an internship this summer. I don't want to give all of her information in terms of she was making good money, but she was making good money, so we're very happy about that. She got a $4,000 signing bonus to participate in that internship. So good things afoot in terms of that. And finally, just giving a kind encouragement. There's several items of interest for Merritt College on the consent agenda. Just a couple of ones that I want to highlight. Thank you for considering Ms. Isela Santana, working with the UC Regents to lead training for the statewide Puente project. That's something I brought up a couple of times. It's about to come to fruition. I'd like to thank you for hopefully ratifying Merritt's acceptance of a $1.54 million grant, juvenile justice, which is going to support justice-impacted students. And lastly, as we finally transition from being Thunderbirds to Panthers, we're doing a gym remaking of our gym. So it just says the Merritt Panthers, and removing that last vestiges of Thunderbirds. So with that, I will conclude my report.
Thank you so much, President Johnson. I'll now move to Dr. Denise Richardson, President of Berkeley City College.
Good evening, Chancellor Gilkerson, Board President Gonzalez Brito, colleagues, students, and members of the community. As was noted in our board report, last week we had a farewell celebration for John Nguyen, our Associate Dean of Student Engagement and Basic Needs. Now, John is is quite the superstar at Berkeley City College, so we are going to miss him terribly. But we are also very excited that he's moving over to College of Alameda to be their Dean of Enrollment. John's professionalism and his unwavering commitment to students have made him a bit of a legend at BCC. So much so that during graduation celebrations, he got many, many shout outs, and endorsements in education don't get much better than that. Needless to say, John will be greatly missed by the BCC community. This morning, BCC hosted the Basic Needs Alliance regional meeting, and it was a huge success. So we were excited to have such an amazing, diverse group of professionals on our campus, and we were particularly excited that our chancellor, Dr. Tamil Gilkerson, took time out of her very busy day to join us. These professionals are truly on the front line, removing barriers and creating a path forwards for some of our most vulnerable students. And of course, John stayed at BCC today just so that he could host this event along with our awesome Basic Needs Director, Izzy Villanueva. Lastly, I'm pleased to share that BCC has had a very strong summer term, reaching 103.30% of our targeted FTES, ending with a total of 369 FTES, which is 26.4 more than we did last summer. So we're very excited about that. This coming Friday, we'll have Flex Day at BCC, where the theme of the day will be Equity in Motion. Thank you. That concludes my report for BCC.
Thank you so much, President Risterton. We'll now turn it over to Dr. Rudy Besikoff, President of Laney College.
Good evening, Chancellor Gilkerson, President Gonzalez Brito, members of the governing board, colleagues in education, and of course, our valued students and community members. I'd like to start my report off this evening by thanking those on the Laney campus who took part in Saturday's first of our two one-stop Saturdays. We had numbers approaching 100 students that came and signed up, which was great. And we are gearing up for this coming Saturday's One-Stop Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and anticipate a large turnout. Also, as we go into the new semester, one of the great events we have takes place on August 20th from 11:30 to 1:30, which is our resource fair, which is part of our welcome week at Laney College for our students. And often in my board reports, I'm always excited to share external partners that come on board. And among the external agencies providing resources to our students this time, we are very pleased to welcome the Salvation Army, who will also be providing resources to our students about basic needs. Staying in the spirit of partners, though, I'd like to give a big shout out to PepsiCo. Just this past summer, they, first of all, on a smaller scale, but an important scale, they hired one of our machine technology graduates, and I want to extend congratulations to Miguel Mejia just for this opportunity. But more importantly, like so many of our industry partners, they're really just kind of joining hands with us. Along the way, the message has been, we want to hire your students, but we want them to stay in your programs until we graduate. It's been great. But in this latest step, what we've actually seen is PepsiCo say, you know what, we also want to be part of your industry advisory boards. And I'm so pleased to report that they've actually committed to serve on our new Artificial Intelligence Advisory Board, as well as our EET, or Electricity and Electronics and Technology Advisory Boards. And I think it's something that's great and lies ahead, and I want to extend congratulations to all of our colleagues in career and technical education under the leadership of Dean Alejandria Tomas. Finally, next week I'm very pleased about some work that is going to come to fruition on Monday. This past year, to support the efforts of what at Laney College for LGBTQIA+ students and employees, we've had something over the years called the Lavender Project. And we took the step this past year of hiring a coordinator for Lavender Outreach, Professor Yi Ren in the ESOL department. And a lot of this work is really going to attain instant gratification on Monday with the opening in Student Center 300 of our Laney Queer Center. This is something of great significance to us. It's something that's very important that shows we support our students, and really just a lot of efforts that came not only through the leadership of Professor Ren, but also a lot of our colleagues who make up the Lavender community on our campus. So with that exciting news today, I'll go ahead and conclude my report.
Thank you so much, President Besikoff. And now I'm pleased to have Melanie Dixon, President of College of Alameda, join us for her very first
Indeed.
meeting.
Thank
So
you.
President Dixon.
Thank you, Chancellor Gilkerson and President Gonzalez-Brito and the rest of the board members, as well as our esteemed faculty and classified professionals and community. I am so excited to be here this evening. It has been a wonderful journey thus far since July 15th at College of Alameda. And I want to share what is also included in your report is many of the events similar to my colleagues here that we brought our prospective students and new students that are entering College of Alameda for the first time in fall. So in July 25th, we had an event, our Committed Day, and an orientation on the same day, where we served close to 90 students, many of those students moving through the matriculation process as we speak. Really excited to have those students on campus, very diverse interests in our programs, and one of the most popular is our STEM program, and I think that's a really great segue into another event that we had over the summer, which was a pilot program for STEM, and really focusing on sciences in our particular area, and we had students that came from community-based organizations in Oakland and around the Bay Area, but specifically Oakland Unified School District participated. And so this program had faculty members supporting classroom experiences, hands-on experience with our students in lab spaces, worked on counseling with students. Some of those students were in the K-8 environment, but most of them were high school students. So we're continuing this program, revamping that grant again in hope of continued partnership with our Oakland Unified School District and other community-based partners. The exciting part about this particular program is that our students receive funding for participating in this Summer Bridge activity. And so $2,000 was provided to the students for completion of the 4 weeks of this program to be able to provide things in preparation for the start of school, but also for those high school students that will be joining us again in fall to continue their learning in STEM programs. So I would just give a huge shout out to our faculty that supported this program over the summer, engaged our students, created a very hands-on experience of engagement, and I really appreciated and had an opportunity to join the lab spaces with them and see that work in action. We also had an opportunity to close out this particular summer program with Superintendent Tony Thurmond came and visited us and met with the students, and more importantly, committed to continuing this partnership beyond this year. So we look forward to continuing to support this particular population and the programs, and certainly bringing those students back to our campus in fall. I think the other things that I would share with you is there's an exciting partnership that we're having around food services with one of our business owners in Alameda. And so we partnered with them to figure out how we can bring food back and keep our students on campus. And this particular partner is interested in working with our workforce development program to create an entrepreneurship pipeline and ensuring that students are paid while they're working on campus in food services. So we're really excited about that. It has been a need and a desire for quite some time. So with that, I will conclude my report, and thank you so much for the warm welcome today.
It's always so great to hear from our college presidents and the colleges about what's going on. And now we'll go ahead and start my brief chancellor's report. So, you know, you saw President Dixon here, and you'll see our COO talking pretty soon about the adopted budget. Before we left for summer break, you graciously approved the hire of 3 key administrators, and I want to thank you again for your consideration. I'm pleased to share my July was spent onboarding and welcoming Ms. Melanie Dixon, President of College of Alameda, Mr. Greg Nelson as the Deputy Chancellor and Chief Operating Officer, and Mr. Abdul Pridgen as the Interim Executive Director of Public Safety. They've all hit the ground running. And for you out there in the community, I've just got to say how thrilled I am that they're here. But if you haven't had a chance to get to know them or meet them, there are some great video introductions of them on the district website. So you can see that on the Peralta College's YouTube channel. So love your future fall enrollment 2024. As we near the start of the fall 2024 semester, I want to give you a very quick update on the promotional efforts to drive enrollment that is being managed by our award-winning Department of Marketing, Communications, and Public Relations. We had a great summer with enrollment headcounts up 1.5% over last year. We'll take every percentage point we can. So we have some positive momentum heading into our fall. Our theme is Love Your Future, with ads running all over 6 city service area in English and in Spanish. At the end of July, a postcard printed was sent via United States Postal Service. We got to give some love to the USPS to approximately 288,000 residential addresses in Albany, Emeryville, Alameda, Berkeley, Oakland, and Piedmont. This postcard was created in collaboration with representatives from each college and emphasized the outstanding world-class professors who love to teach. Marcus Creel, the district's graphic design specialist, created scores of college branded ads of varying shapes and sizes, which have been running on a wide range of digital platforms, including websites, gaming apps, social media networks, including Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, and Twitch. And we also created in-house videos by Angel Hunter, our video production specialist. Angel is the narrator on the English videos and worked with Natalie Rodriguez, Director of Student Activities and Campus Life at the College of Alameda, who translated and narrated the Spanish versions. The videos are running on YouTube, TikTok, and Over the Top, OTT on Amazon Prime, again with geographic targeting, geofencing as it's called, for our service area. So far, the results are promising. Our headcount for fall 2024 enrollment as of Monday, August 12th, was 16,778, compared with 14,351 on the same date last year. Let's just, well over a 10% increase. Several of the colleges have one-stop enrollment events on Saturday that you heard about, and the district office has been promoting those via social media. So we are cautiously optimistic, actually, I'm always hope-filled, that the enrollment growth pattern we've seen over the past 2 years will continue this fall. Earlier this year, we announced the new Strength and Synergy 3-part professional development symposium series for Peralta classified professionals. I'm thrilled to report we held the first part of the series on July 10th at Merritt College. The focus of the symposium was reigniting our passion and featured a keynote address by Dr. Abdi Malik Bull, visiting executive of educational excellence at the State Chancellor's Office. Dr. Bull is an inspiring, really inspiring and exceptional leader, and I was thrilled to have him participate. Folks were so energized by his words and his just presence. Even though he had torn his Achilles, he still came and online spoke to us all. We handed out copies of Dare to Lead, which we're now reading together in reading groups set up at each of the colleges and the district service center. As it says in the book, leadership, quote, leadership is not about titles, status, and wielding power. A leader is anyone who takes responsibility for recognizing the potential in people and ideas and has the courage to develop that potential, unquote. We already know that there are outstanding leaders among the ranks of classified professionals here in the district, and we look no farther than the amazing planning team who helped pull off this effort. Angela Kimball from the College of Alameda, Brandy Howard here at the District Service Center, Hope Lane, Laney College, Jamila Salai, Merritt College, Louis Martirez E. McFarland from College of Alameda were some on the planning committee. So we look forward to what else continues to emerge from our classified professionals and their inspirational leadership. On Thursday, August 9th, we hosted a potluck lunch in the district atrium. Y'all know I love some food, and it was prepared. The spread was absolutely amazing. We had baby back ribs from Greg Nelson, slow cooked right here in the district kitchen. Macaroni and cheese from Tanisa Dickerson and benefits, collard greens from Lenora Tucker in HR, green beans, hummus, and chili from the marketing team, and so much more. Everything, I got to tell you, everybody was like, Chancellor, try this, Chancellor, try this. Chancellor was very full, but very happy. Everything was so good. So thank you to everyone who shared their culinary skills and to those who shared their spouse's skills or skills from a local grocery store. The marketing team in collaboration with Tashetta Henry in my office worked together to distribute Peralta branded t-shirts. It was a delightful way to celebrate the end of summer, prepare for the fall term, and build on the passion, purpose, and possibilities within our community. And I love those pictures. Earlier this year, we held a listening session for all stakeholders involved in the contract approval process and generated a tremendous amount of input on how we can improve the contracts process here at Peralta. On Friday, August 9th, we held a follow-up meeting at the Laney Field House to share how that initial feedback is being reshaping the contracts process as we speak. I want to thank the team involved in organizing and presenting the contracts workshop, and they really worked together for a very long time to help bring in and usher in some of these improvements we're going to see over the next semester. So Shasha Amiri Nair, Brandy Howard, Arlene Lontak, Shanova Berry, John Hebert, Seraphine Nizom, Shalon Rogers, Marla Williams-Powell, Antoine Meuli. I did it, Megule. Okay, I'm trying. Greg Nelson and outside legal counsel Rachel Brilliant and Erica Curls-Bartlin. People were, could you get excited about contracts? I gotta say, people were excited about many of the changes announced to help expedite the approval process, including streamlining vendor onboarding and the payment process, new contract templates for service agreements, and greatly expanded notifications throughout the workflow. But we all realize what? There is much more to be done, and it will take time for us to build this out. And so we have a plan over the fall term to build this out. We held, thank you, President Goldstein, for talking about this, but we held a budget town hall on Friday, August 9th. I want to thank our new Chief Operating Officer, Greg Nelson, and the finance team who hosted a virtual town hall meeting to preview the tentative adopted budget for the district, which he will be sharing with you in just a moment. The town hall was attended by over 80 employees and community members, and I gotta say, Greg, you did a pretty good job. Yeah, following up on our commitment to be more transparent and inclusive throughout the leadership, the budget development process. So I want to thank you, CEO Nelson, and the entire finance team. On Friday, the 9th was a busy day. Geez. The Office of International Education hosted a welcome event here at the District Service Center for our international students studying at the Peralta Colleges this fall. Director Thomas Torres-Gill and his team held a lively program full of tips, tricks, and great advice on how to navigate and thrive at the 4 colleges. Continuing the food theme, the program concluded with tasty burritos, rice and beans, chips and salsa. There were over 50 students in attendance and a few parents too. Congratulations to the International Office on the successful event, and welcome to our international students. We are so glad you're here. And I will follow up just quickly on the comment that Dr. Richardson said about BCC today. Earlier today, I had the pleasure of visiting Berkeley City College. Thank you so much for the warm invitation, President Richardson, and participating in the Alameda County Public Higher Education Basic Needs Alliance meeting. These meetings happen twice a semester, rotating locations, and the meeting included representatives from CSU East Bay, UC Berkeley, the Peralta Colleges, Chabot Las Positas District, and Ohlone, the other Alameda County community colleges. With the meeting at BCC, I was joined by President Richardson, obviously, and the team, as well as the basic needs coordinators who you all saw a presentation from in the spring. Jeremy Simmons from COA, Izzy Villanueva from BCC, Katrina Santos from Laney College, and Susana Abramman from Merritt College. These meetings are really so important, as we know there is the direct linkage and intersection between the support that we provide students around their basic needs and their success here at the Peralta College. And that concludes my Chancellor's report.
Thank you, Chancellor, and thank you to the college presidents for your reports today. So with that, we'll move to item 4.1 First reading of the Peralta Community College District fiscal year 2024-25 adopted budget.
Thank you so much, President Gonzalez Brito. I'm pleased to introduce again our new Deputy Chancellor Chief Operating Officer, Greg Nelson, to present this to you tonight.
Thank you, Chancellor, and good evening, Board, and thank you for having me. It's been a very fast 6.5 weeks, and so we'll get started. Thank you, ma'am. So we'll get started on the 24-25 budget, and as the Chancellor's mentioned, and of course the Chancellor's always hard to follow, but the process to get to this point has been long and hard. Long before I started, through the spring semester and all the governance groups. Go ahead, next slide, please, Sasha. But I just want to thank the finance staff, but also to the governance groups who participated in this process through PBC, et cetera, because without all the work that goes on throughout the fiscal year, from the business offices to the faculty and staff, we couldn't do our jobs at the end of the fiscal year. So it's really important for all those who participated. And also, especially thanks to the finance team over the last 2-3 weeks, we've done a lot of late nights trying to wrap this up. So I really want to thank them for all their hard work. Okay, next slide, please. So I wanted to start with some of the changes that happened at the end of the fiscal year upon my arrival. And as we started to close the books, we noticed some things that were not coded correctly. So the first item, we had 5 positions that were coded incorrectly to a different funding source. So we had to redirect those expenses to the general fund, the unrestricted general fund, or considered Fund 1. We had a little impact at about $600,000. We also had some vendor services that were miscoded for about $1.3 million that had an impact to the general fund as well. And then we got a letter about the second week of July from the state chancellor's office said we're going to be surplusing about $3.5 million in student financial aid for the student completion grant. And so we were able to get that resurrected and fixed to a certain degree to reduce that down to $961,000 so that we'd return as little as possible back to those students. So special thanks to Dave and Ken Lara, et cetera, to make sure we could get that wrapped up as quickly as possible with the help of the financial aid teams at the local campuses. Then we spent a great deal of time catching up on vendor payments to make sure we could close out the fiscal year, but it also resulted in some late fees and penalties as we trued some of those things up for the end of the fiscal year so our numbers could be as accurate as possible in the tune of about $55,000. Next slide, please. So I wanted to talk about some major changes from the tentative to the adopted budget from what you saw in, I believe, June of this year to currently. And so the deficit factor from the state on the tentative budget was 2%. And so if you, just a quick rehash on the deficit factor, as the deficit factor is increased, that's how much money the state is withholding from the districts. They do it statewide to every college so they can balance what the state gives to the chancellor's office. So the deficit factor has been as high over the years to 10% to 0. So it fluctuates so that they can balance the books. So in the tentative or in the governor's proposal, it was going to be 2%. They raised it to 2.4%. It looks like an increase, but it's actually a decrease in cash to the district. So that is reflected in our numbers as well. There was a $800,000 adjustment in Prop 98 policy adjustments from the state. Then as you come down to the student center funding formula, as we refer to as the SCIF, there was a $500,000 adjustment from the tentative to the adopted budget. The statutory COLA went from 0.767% to 1.07%. Not a big change, but a 0.3% change overall. The funding enrollment was also adjusted. This is the hold harmless number, went from 14.5 to 15.524. This reflects that 1.07% change, and you'll see that in subsequent slides as well. The hold harmless is the same, but raised by the same factor. So you see it raised to $18.9 million, and we'll go into the hold harmless here in just a second in more detail also. The estimated reserves for the district were at 17.66% for the tentative budget. That has been decreased based on the items I mentioned previously. They were miscoded. That took an impact to the unrestricted general fund of 2.39%, which leaves us at 15.27. And then district reductions, as I mentioned earlier, around the coded positions of the $614,000. Next slide, please. So when you look at the district-wide reductions, just to remind the board and the community, the district planned for this fiscal year $11.1 million in reductions. That was spread between salaries and vacancy savings of $6 million, of which we're sweeping the savings on a monthly basis. So as those positions stay open or we're recruiting for them, those vacancies and those dollars budgeted will sit there, and then we will sweep those funds monthly from all the colleges and the district office, so we can reflect that and report that back to the board. The discretionary budget target was 2.1 million. We added to that the 614,000 that was coded erroneously. So I want to stop there for a second and remind the board. So we found the coding in the prior fiscal year, but we also had to fix it respectively and prospectively. So we had to fix it for the coming fiscal year as well. So you had a $614,000 hit for 23-24, but we also had to take an increase in cuts for 24-25 because it was miscoded. So that brings the total for discretionary to 2.7 million. However, the 614,000 is not being distributed across the colleges. The district office is taking that cut. So we'll absorb that here at the district office. The cuts for the colleges has remained the same across the district and the colleges, as you can see there, which is identical to what was in the tentative budget. Next slide, please. So as you probably saw, the budget book is a little different. It's not portrait landscape, it's landscape now. It's got a little more data in it and so forth. So kind of the charge I had, even through the recruitment process and even coming in and talking to people, was we needed more transparency. The best way you can get transparency from a finance standpoint is to put out more data and more visuals. So that way people can understand the trends. And by doing that, you get also a better organization of the data sets. So what you'll see is in the past, you had Fund 1 by each location, then Fund 2 by each location. Now we've set it up to where the colleges, if they essentially wanted to rip out their section of the budget, the entire college is grouped together in the budget. So all of Laney College's funds are together, all of BCC, et cetera. So that way, if you don't want to sit there and try to comb through the entire document, you can actually pull out a few pages and find the budget for an individual college. Next slide, please. Some state budget highlights, and I know y'all went through this in detail in the tentative budget, but just some quick brief highlights. The state budget reflects a decrease of nearly $13 billion. As you know, the state has been working on a large deficit across the state over a multi-year process that started in a $70 billion figure. Sometimes it's hard to get my head wrapped around that. A 1.07% COLA, which I mentioned earlier. An ongoing augmentation for the SCIF of $143 million. And then limited one-time funding that I wanted to highlight, $18 million to support the system's Vision 2030, $10 million for LGBTQ plus pilot program, $20 million to enhance the financial aid administration, and then also expanding the nursing program capacity across the state, which, as we all know, has a serious shortfall. Next slide, please. Changes in the student funding formula rates reflect that 1.07% COLA. So you'll see the rates from 23 to 24 have all adjusted. I'm not going to go into these in detail, but just to reflect that that has changed based on that COLA figure. Next slide. And when it comes to the budget allocations and the district allocations, you'll see the budget adjustments for the Peralta District, and we ended at 166. So you'll see the adjustments there from the state to the district. And it all reflects the 1.07% as well, mostly for CalWorks, EOP, DSPS, et cetera, from the state. Okay, next slide. So in the general budget assumptions for the district, as I mentioned earlier about the ending fund balance for the reserves, represents a 15.27% reserve, or approximately $27.4 million in cash. You'll see the general fund allocation is based on a 3-year rolling average. That average is reflected in this graph. So you can see that rolling average happening by college. So as as time goes on, if so to speak, we will get that first year COVID out of the way, and we'll start seeing that increase hopefully over time, as we've seen the last couple of years, as FTEs just start to go up and it continues to go up, will hopefully catch us up on that 3-year rolling average. But this is tied back to our 320 report, which is open to the public on the State Chancellor's Office website. Next page, please. So this is the graph I wanted to spend a moment on. And this is a graph that also received a lot of comments and questions during our town hall meeting. So, and I think it's an important one to show in a visual format. Even though I do numbers for a living, I also am a visual learner, so I think having visuals is helpful for people. So to show you on the graph, the bottom line, and I'm not going to expect to know what color that is because it looks at different on every screen, but the bottom line is the actuals in FTES that we produce here at the district. You go up to the teal or baby blue, you pick your Sherwin-Williams color that you'd like. The baby blue line is the hold harmless number that is given to us by the state that they're holding us harmless for based on the funding formula being approved. The yellow line represents, and if you'll notice at the bottom, and Sasha will help me here, 25, 26, and 27, we're looking out. So that increase on that yellow line reflects what our FTS should be based on our current spending patterns. So you'll see how much higher it is than the hold harmless. So to reflect our current spend rate, our FTS should be at the yellow line, getting us up above the blue line, so we can actually see increases in the formula. The red arrow just shows the gap between our current FTS and that projection, and we need to start to try to close that as much as possible. The reason why that's important is even though we're held harmless, there's no more COLA. COLA's over. So our expenses are, as you can see throughout your projections, we're already outstripping our revenue. And so we need to make sure we're more consistent and stay consistent on that plan, because if we don't, the step and column increases on payroll, which makes up about 84% of our budget, will begin to strip that budget out even further, and it'll make that gap grow wider. Next slide. So a few ways, and this was actually presented in the budgets, the Chancellor's budget workshop, but a few ways to increase that enrollment or increase that TCR. TCR stands for total computational revenue. As we know, we like our acronyms in higher education. So increase rising scholars. I know we do well with rising scholars in the inmate population, but that is something that the state is trying to push across the state, with Laney College being one of the examples that's been given around the engagement with the incarcerated or formerly incarcerated as well. Dual enrollment opportunities, updated total cost of attendance, and also student-centered course scheduling. Sometimes the multi-year or multi-semester scheduling is something else that a lot of schools are working on as well, so they can do some more predictions around enrollment. Next slide, please. The unrestricted fund by location, and as you know, I put this in here mainly to highlight that we sweep the funds from the colleges that are left over at the end of the fiscal year. So that just shows that the reserve sits with the district office, so we can calculate that as a whole district, and then the allocations by college in total. Next slide, please. So this is the kind of grand summary sheet, if you will. Slide. Don't blow it up too much. Stay there. If you don't, it's not sure to bring it back to normal, the next slide's blow it up. There you go. Go back up. There you go. Thank you. So if you look across the top of your page, the way we do this is give you the current year, which is the red box, is the 24-25 current fiscal year that we just started. The next column is in, I think that's purple or periwinkle, depending on how you look at it. 25-26 is the projection, and at the top you'll see it says 80%. I'm about 80% sure that number is going to stay there. And so as you get out further years, the number goes down. But remember, this is a rolling calendar. So as those years get closer, the number gets firmer. So as next year comes closer, it'll get closer to 90+%, and so on with yellow and so on. So you'll see 99, 80, 70, 60. And this is something I've been doing for several years, and it seems to hold true in a lot of respects. And what I'm going to do, but also too in this page, what you'll see is you'll see a greater data set. So you'll see 3 years in arrears, you'll see the current year, and you'll see 3 years in the future. So it gives you a 7-year trend line of data that you can actually look at. So if you wanted to look at full-time academic salaries, you can see in 2021, it was 22.6 million, and in 27-28, it's going to be 36.5 million. So that way, if you wanted to take the time and you wanted to graph it out, or you want to see trends over the years, instead of looking at a snapshot of 1 year, now you can see multiple years and how it's impacted the district. Go to the next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about these two red ovals, bubbles. And so I'm going to get into the next slide just because the next slide actually blows it up so we can see it a little easier. So you go to the next slide for me, Sasha. All right. So when you look at the 24-25 fiscal year, you'll see that makes up the $11.1 million in reductions that was already pre-planned for 24-25. That brings that total down to that first yellow line of 15.27%. That reflects the reserve I just spoke about. When you go over, so one of the things you saw in the tentative budget in the 25-26 column, y'all had in the tentative budget what was called people kind of coined it the fiscal cliff. So that first year in 25-26 was a little over $18 million in cuts that was projected for the district for 25-26 and so on. Actually, you got it right here so I can tell you what the numbers are, because I knew I wouldn't be able to remember. So you had 18.3, now 6.6. You had 27.4, now it's 14.1, 36.8, and now it's 23.6. So why the adjustment? The adjustment is, so in the tentative budget, what was happening is they counted the current year cuts of 11.1 million. It did not get reflected in the bottom line, so the start of the 25-26, that 11.1 million got doubled. So if you look at the difference between the $6.5 million and the tentative budget of 18.3, it's that $11.1 million cut that we're taking in the current fiscal year. So what I did to try to help you understand that, when you look across the top, you'll see the 6 million, the 2.6 million, and the $3 million cut. I basically reduplicated those across, so that way you can see how the math comes down. It's not that we're taking that cut again. Once we take that cut in the current fiscal year and we annualize that cut into the base budget, we don't have to take it again. So for instance, give you another example. Next year comes around, we have to do 6.5 million. 26-27 comes around for 14.1. However, if we take the 6.5 million, that 14.1 million will reduce by that 6.5 figure. So it's a rolling number. As you bake it into your baseline budget, that next year gets smaller and smaller. So that's the main reflection point of the tentative to the adopted budget, is that duplication of that 11.1 million. There's still work to be done. It's just not near severe as it was in the tentative budget. The last thing I'll mention on this page is the fund balance. So you'll see in the fund balance is 16.94 for 23-24. It adjusts down over the subsequent years based on that cut number. In your tentative budget document, when they put the fiscal cliff in the document, they didn't reflect it in the reserve. So in your reserve number in the tentative budget, it went from 17.66, 17.4, 17.3, and that does not reflect double-digit cuts in millions of dollars. So we had to make sure that reserve was reflected based on the cut that was anticipated for those out-year projections. So that new cut line is that yellow line that Sasha is highlighting there. That reflects the cut projection for those out-year scenarios. Going down to the bottom yellow highlight, you'll see we had, based on the reserve was, policy was adjusted by the board in May of 23. And so when that reserve policy was changed to a 2-month expenditure reserve, the finance office was doing the tentative budget that year, and that kind of locked it in at 16.67% at that moment in time. So they've been building off that, and that's why you see 16.7 kind of carried across. And you'll see, based on that number, you'll see in the current fiscal year for 24-25, is that we're expected to take a $543,000 shortfall to what the reserve policy states. We're going to hold for right now, and come mid-year, we'll be able to reflect back and see how close we've gotten to that number before we start trying to build that into any future cuts. We want to see between vacancy reserves and so forth, can we get to that number without doing anything additional? But mid-year, we'll do a mid-year update to make sure we reflect that to the board in my mid-year update around January or February. Next slide, please. And in summary, we just need to stay committed to the plan. We got to continue to refine efficiencies and refine processes across the district, which we're working to do so. We have to continue to improve enrollment. We cannot give up on enrollment. I know the president spoke to that tonight. that is part of our fiscal stability going forward. We have to be very creative in doing so. And so we have to make sure we plan it strategically, so not be short-sighted in our planning. We need to think about what we do today and this week can affect us next year and 2 years from now. And we got to continue the transparency. The more data and optics we have around the data sets, the more transparency it is, which helps build us trust. So that way we can be good stewards for the taxpayers' money at the district. And with that, Madam President, I'll yield back.
Thank you, Deputy Chancellor. So we'll open it up to any questions or comments. No?
Thank you and welcome. Just have to say that thank you for making this really easy for us to understand, because clearly we're laymen, and as often as we look at the budget books, I think that we all collectively get cross-eyed. And so doing little things like you've done, making the orientation, landscape, and allowing for the graphs and the visuals, and that TCR graph really made things very succinct and very visually palpable for us. And then also not having the blank spaces and actually articulating what you had said right now in terms of the very bottom highlights. I just have to say that this is an evolving process, and you have done a really good job in actually helping us kind of understand what's here in a manner that was a bit incomprehensible sometimes in the past. And so I'm excited for the work that we're all going to have to do together, and I'm excited for future presentations, and thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you, Trustee. Other questions or comments?
Thank you, Craig. I think the biggest thing this does for me, at least, is it lays out a realistic layout of the work we have to do. And it gives us a great starting point, which in the past was moving always. So it clearly states the work we have to do, and I think everybody up here and across the colleges and district is ready to do that work.
Thank you, Vice President Quinlan. Other questions or comments?
Just one more comment. And the one thing that I thought was pretty remarkable is being able to actually see 3 years before and 3 years afterwards. I think oftentimes we do 5 years or we do 3 years, but it really robs us from being able to actually see what our trajectory is over a long period of time. So I think that probably was, for me, one of the most useful things. So thank you.
Trustee Gonzalez-Yuen has that question.
Trustee?
It's more of a comment. Three things. One, I want to echo the phrase that my colleagues have just laid out. The presentation was really clear. Secondly, I'm really happy that the process overall that we're using right now is generating a lot more confidence in the bottom line numbers. And I think that's been really critical. The third thing is this, a while ago, we were being encouraged to move forward with a permanent hire in your position. This board resisted that, really pushing to give our new chancellor an opportunity to put together her own team. I think that's proven to be a really successful strategy. And with that, I'd just like to welcome you to the district and thank you for your work. That's it.
All right. Any final? Trustee Delphine?
Yeah, thank you again for this presentation. Welcome. One question I wanted to ask was around the community process around looking at this budget. I think you spoke to it a little bit in your presentation. I think, Chancellor, you spoke to that as well, but I would just like to hear a little bit more detail about input on this as we move forward as well.
Sure. So the process, because it was, as the District Academic Senate mentioned and so forth, when I came on board, there was kind of a rough schedule, but I knew I had questions about it because faculty are not back for the semester yet. So we basically turned it into a town hall instead of having a governance process. I actually enjoy doing town halls because it gives staff where you don't get the trickle down effect from the governance process, and so it gives them a chance to ask questions that they otherwise couldn't ask, or they don't know how to ask, or et cetera. So we had a lot of good questions around the formula, what hold harmless was. So we were able to explain that to a lot of classified staff and faculty that hadn't seen it before. So that was a good process to have. It was also a good inflection point for us to show what are we trying to do in this upcoming year without going through a governance process. And as they spoke about, most of this had already been done in a tentative budget. So this is just kind of a, reformatting of what was already there. All this data is already there and it's on our website. It's just not laid out this way. We are going to be having a PBC meeting on the 30th for them to, so in between the two board meetings, between the first and second read, for PBC to kind of weigh in a governance environment. And then what we'll do is on a quarterly basis, we'll be having regular, PBC meetings, but also informational meetings with PBC so we can get into the spring and work through that process a little more diligently on the front end. So we have as much information as they can. So we do a mid-year budget recap is what I'm traditionally accustomed to. So they'll see that again right after they get back for spring semester. So they'll see that all from the first 6 months and kind of where we sit. And they'll see that before we bring it to the board. And that way we can kind of go as we go. It's, little inch. And then that way we get in the tentative, and there's no shock and awe come tentative budget time period about what is happening across the district, because we've been talking about it for 9 months. And that, to me, has been the most successful process that I can see going forward. And I've always found it, when it comes to governance, the more information you can give them and help them explain in a governance setting, whether it's new legislation, new information around what the board is asking for, or information that we have available at our fingertips that we just haven't given to them in the past, all that comes together and you get a much better document. So this document will continue to evolve. And it'll probably be thicker next year, but it will continue to evolve as we go.
And Trustee Delphine Polk, I wanted to just add that one thing we're committed to this year, again, on my first full academic year, beginning that, is that we will be doing roadshows on the budget at all of the college locations. We think it's really, really important to make sure the town hall we did, we're actually going to be, so we'll be working with the colleges to plan that very quickly here at the beginning of the semester, to be out sharing really, different things that are happening across here at the district office, hearing from stakeholders, but sharing where the budget is at as well. So we want to make sure that that becomes a process as part of our district-wide community work.
Thank you. I know this is something we've been talking about for a while, so it's really great to see put in place. Thank you.
All right, any final questions or comments? Thank you, Deputy Chancellor.
Thank you.
So we'll move to the consent calendar. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay.
Student trustee Parmigiani? Trustee Withrow? Trustee Yohannes?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Bellarice?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Brito?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, so we'll move to section 10, action items. We have 10.1 and 10.2, and Vice President Quinlan needs to make an announcement.
So I am recusing myself from consideration of items 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3 because I have a conflict of interest due to financial interest in the following companies: Apple, Microsoft, and Oracle, listed in the reports on these items. So I'm supposed to leave the room also.
Thank you, Trustee. Vice President Quinlan. So we'll start with, or should I wait till you? No, okay. So we'll start with 10.1, consider approval of the purchase order report for the period covering June 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay.
Student trustee Parmigiani?
Yes.
Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Yohannes?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez-Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Foley Bellarice?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Polk?
Yes.
Trustee Quinlan? Trustee Gonzalez-Brito?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So I'll move to 10.2, the warrant payment report for the period covering June 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Student trustee Parmigiani?
Yes.
Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Yohannes?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bellarice?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Pope?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And our final action item is 10.3, consider adoption of resolution number 2425-136, authorizing purchase of Microsoft software license renewals. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay.
Student trustee Parmigiani?
Yes.
Trustee Withrow?
Yes.
Trustee Yohannes?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Ewan?
Yes.
Trustee Napoli Bellarice?
Yes.
Trustee Delphine Pope?
Yes.
Trustee Gonzalez Brito?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, that finishes our action items, and Vice President Quinlan, welcome back. All right, so we'll move to trustee reports, and I'll start to my right. Anything to report, trustee Winslow? I'll wait for Vice President Quinlan. Anything to report?
Yes. So on July 24th up at Merritt College, I attended a training titled Teaching in the Juvenile Justice Education System. And I think the video from the Zoom recording is out, and then also the slides. But I have to say, in my, 25 years in education so far, it's probably the most powerful presentation I've ever seen on pedagogy. Not just the nuts and bolts of it, but the passion behind it. The thing I found amazing, just about every staff person in that room, from the speaker to the staff that support these programs at Merritt, had been through this experience themselves. And that gave it just all that much more power when they could testify, not only the troubles they were in, but the success they'd had. And I think these programs, the Rising Scholars, we have that at VOA, we have it at Laney, and we have it at Merritt, and they're incredible programs.
Thank you, Vice President Quinlan. Trustee Yohannes?
Mine is shorter, simpler. First, I wanted to thank Mark and team. I did notice, as you mentioned, Chancellor, the marketing campaign, and so I'm playing little games on my phone, and boom, I'm a tu futuro. I'm like, okay, all right, thank you, Peralta. So I received the Spanish one. My phone, well, I do speak some Spanish, so okay, phone thinks I speak Spanish. And then also yesterday, I just happened to be walking around with a Laney sweatshirt, and two people in 1 hour, two people stopped and was like, "Excuse me, hey, do you go there? Well, do I go there?" I said, "No, I work there, but please, it's free." They're like, "Yeah, I used to go. Come on back," and had good conversations within just 1 hour, like I said. So all that to say, wear your swag, give me some swag, and the marketing's doing well. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I wanted to echo that. I'm really excited to see the Spanish language outreach. I know that's something we've been talking about for a long time, Mark. So I'm really, really happy to see it. I think it's really well done. And I'm really excited to see what this academic year is going to hold. Thank you.
Student trustee.
Hello, my name is Sophia Parmigiani, and I just wanted to say it's really a pleasure to be here, and I'm really excited to start this term with you all, and I look forward to getting to know you and working as a team. And at the same time, I also wanted to congratulate my fellow student trustee who got elected, Pierce Byrne. He's actually here right now too. So he will be starting soon. And as a good friend of mine, I know he's going to do great on the job as well. And we have a lot of different ideas and projects that we want to bring to the board. For example, one of them is looking into student housing, and also something that was actually brought up during our Brown Act training was how there may be two different meeting sessions where we have board meetings and also campus study sessions. And I think that really goes in line with what we were already trying to do more of, which is engage more with the students and actually meet with them on different campuses. So that's really exciting. And also I wanted to comment on John Wynn, who was, as a student at BCC, he was definitely a beloved advisor, and I can testify to how much of an impact he's made on, being the advisor for student government and also on my first year at BCC. So, it's really sad that he's leaving, but also we really wish him the best, and he's, we always know he's going to be there for us because of his impact on the community. And then I wanted to bring up how, so today I actually also was with, I went to the BCC discussion surrounding like Peralta basic needs and how we can improve upon that. And so I saw President Richardson and Chancellor Gilgerson there. And I just found it very valuable to be able to sit in on this meeting and then just to hear the ongoing discussion of how we can work with what we have on our campuses and also dealing with the funding deficit and the various challenges that each campus has with its diversity. And so really important ideas came up, like surveys statewide, where we can really get the students' opinion on, how we can improve their colleges specifically, but also thinking outside the box for how we can all individually take initiative on our campuses. And there was talk about, the tiers of how, it's not just working on our campuses, but also collaborating on the county level, the state level, and how they're all interconnected. So, however we can play a part in that and join forces to really help basic needs. So yeah, thank you. And I look forward to working with you all more. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Trustee Gonzalez-Woolen?
I'll pass tonight. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And I will pass, so that takes us to announcements.
Yes, our announcements for the board meeting of August 13th, 2024 are 1, love your future. Enroll now for fall 2024 classes. Visit the Peralta website at peralta.edu/enroll to start the application and enrollment process. There's also special one-stop enrollment opportunities available at the colleges this week and on Saturday, August 17th. Visit the Welcome Centers or check the Peralta website and social media accounts for details. Number 2, welcome back faculty. We have professional development Flex Day events this week, including the District Flex Day at Laney College on Thursday, August 15th, and the College Flex Days on Friday, August 16th. Number 3, welcome back students. Fall semester starts on Monday, August 19th. And number 4, the Bond Measures Oversight Committee will meet tomorrow, Wednesday, August 14th, 2024, here in the boardroom from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Quinlan. And with that, I believe we're adjourned. Thank you.